there's a thing that's installed in our subconscious that we repeat and repeat and repeat, and we don't even notice that we're repeating it. And we want to change the story, but we don't know how to. So I think this is amazing because it takes you to a state where our brains, like you're the expert, will actually re-edit the story that you've been telling yourself unconsciously since you're a baby. And when you do that, you know what? You change that story unconsciously, and then you change your life.
You lay back, relax, or you can sit up, whatever you're comfortable doing. We turn it on, and it's going to take you into the state of deep relaxation, and it's going to bring you back out. We have morning sessions that take 10 minutes, afternoon sessions that take 20, and in the evening, ones that put you to sleep, they are 30 minutes, but they don't bring you back. They basically put you in a deep delta, and you sleep and detox your brain while you're doing it.
Welcome to the Brain Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Patrick Porter. Please join us on our mission to better a billion brains. Enjoy the episode and remember to share it with your family and friends.
Well, here we are in the biohacking conference, Dave Asprey, and today with an amazing man. I rarely am impressed by speakers and by the energy they can transmit and the connection that you had since you put your body, your soul, and your energy in this audience. So thank you, Patrick Porter, the creator of BrainTap, that soon is also going to benefit many people that speak Spanish, which is amazing. But first, I want to thank you. I want to tell you, you're a great speaker. What you're doing made all of us get centered, get focused, and BrainTap is doing that in so many ways. So tell us about you. Tell us about your dad to start with, please.
My dad learned a program called the Silva Method from Jose Silva in Laredo, Texas. And he's from Mexico, actually, originally.
I know,
so,
amazing.
He actually trained my dad. He was one of the first ones, and he helped my dad become alcohol-free, and he had a real problem with that. So nothing helped. My dad used to go 2 or 3 times to rehabilitation centers. Nothing worked, and he thought he was drinking he wasn't drinking to get high or whatever. We found out he was drinking to try to relax. He was self-medicating. And so once my dad learned to meditate with the Silva Method, he said, wow, I need to teach this to my family. So we started doing that. And then he became one of the first instructors here in the US. So I grew up going to seminars like not this big. I mean, my dad's seminars, you might have 50, 60 people there. But every other weekend in Michigan, we'd be setting up the chairs. My dad'd be giving his lectures, and we'd be there to support. So I've probably been through that course 1,000 times. It's about learning. Learning is about spaced repetition and doing it. So, and getting to a state called alpha. And then what I found out was alpha's one level, but there's a deeper level called theta. And it's almost impossible for most people to get there on their own.
Why?
Mainly because you fall asleep. It's a very small band wave of, if you think about our brain, just like the planet, it has evoked potential between 0.5 and 10 hertz. These are cycles per second. So let's say we're in a busy mall shopping, our brain will typically be in a high beta state because we're interacting, reacting, doing these things. When we're doing something we love or enjoy, if we're talking to somebody we care about, or we're doing something fun and enjoyable like our hobbies, we're typically more in the alpha state. That's why time flies. It's not the same. When I was in detention in school, it took a lot longer than if I was out playing baseball. You know, we never had enough time to play baseball, but we had plenty of time to do detention. You know, so, and then when right below that, the small band between 4 and 7 hertz is theta. And it's so important because that's the one that actually we call the inventive mind. Every great inventor that you read about had a process. When they had a problem in their lab, they would put themselves into a state of unconsciousness or sleep and give themselves the suggestion that when they wake up, they were going to have a solution to their problem, like Einstein, Tesla, you know, all these, even Elon Musk does these things. They call them thought experiments. So I wanted to, how could you do that? Because most people would fall asleep because they haven't practiced. That's why meditation isn't sleep. You know, a lot of people think that. And Silva would have you sit in a chair like this, you know, and you wouldn't be slouching or laying on the floor. That way you had to stay awake. Because most people are just, your brain's trained to go to sleep. once you start that dissension. So, but what we found was the part of that reason is that we found out later through neuroscience is that when you don't use light stimulus, like we do in the BrainTap, then your brain, 30% of your brain is going to go to sleep because the visual cortex, if it's being stimulated, the brain stays awake because it thinks, oh no, my reticular activating system or our default mode network, these are all the unconscious processes of the brain. They have to stay awake because the reason you and I are here is our ancestors could interpret light, sound, and vibration. You know, whether it be a tiger or falling off a cliff or drowning in an ocean, those are all things they avoided. So we have the genetic history of somebody who made it through all those trials and tribulations. That's why our default network is really negative. And that's why it's so hard to change. The average person has 40,000 thoughts a day, or 60,000 thoughts a day.
And
I'm
most
sorry.
are negative.
Yeah, 80% of them are negative. Yeah.
And it's because of survival. It's what's kept our
Yes.
species going. But
It's
that
not-
doesn't particularly takes us or gets us closer to a feeling of happiness or enjoyment. And you designed something that is amazing, that helps people activate and disactivate other parts of the brain that get us in trouble,
Yes.
like the amygdala.
Yes.
And we're not going to make a whole speech about amygdala now, but we all, not all know that these are not the only amygdalas that can sometimes get us in trouble. But a part of our brain that gets very excited and doesn't finish up distinguishing is the danger it's perceiving is real or imaginary.
Right.
So most people live in this state of attack or state, the mode that is not going to make you feel happier or live longer because you're producing certain substances like cortisol that will finally get you sick if it's too much. So this is amazing. And I want you to tell all our friends in Mexico and in the world, in the Spanish-speaking country, what this is.
Sure.
What BrainTap is.
We call it BrainTap, and like you're talking about being hijacked by the amygdala, fear is one of the worst things to the brain, you know, and worry and stress. And people habituate to that, right? They almost get addicted to it. They don't feel normal unless they're stressing.
They normalize it because that's how their life is.
Right. So what we've done is we put light in the eyes. We call this retinal flashing. And there's a lot of research about retinal flashing.
Retinal flashing.
Yeah, so your eyes are closed. Your eyes actually can absorb light energy, and we need light energy. Most people don't realize the most underprescribed nutrient is light. You know, so you want to be out with Dr. Sunshine, but if you can't, that's why we're here at the biohacking conference. A lot of times you can't be here, so we can hack that, meaning that we can substitute it with our own light. And so we've tuned this light to the same light frequencies that would be in the morning and the night. You know, 470 nanometer light is most prevalent in the morning. And so it's because it does wake up the brain, but it resets the circadian rhythm too. And then we put lights in the ears, you can see here. Even though they appear to be solid, it's actually pulsing at different speeds from about 130 up to over 1,000. And those are called Noget frequencies, and they change every 2 minutes. And this is kind of the bass drum of this session, because if those frequencies, we now know that we're frequency beings. Even though you and I appear to be solid, we're actually sitting in our energy fields.
Exactly.
And these are just the most condensed part of our energy field. But we're still information coming back and forth that's beyond what we're talking about. And now that you're watching, you're also in
Part
that field. Yep.
So welcome.
Yes. In quantum physics, they call it quantum entanglement. So from this point on, Dr. Porter's going to be in your brain, and so is Dr. Lizi. So the light gives the energy to the brain. So we live in an energy economy. Right now, so much things stress us out. And so people can't sleep. 2/3 of the world is not sleeping. And
And how many people are super anxious, and how many people after COVID and everything we've lived are super stressed and super sad.
Yes.
And so many losses.
Yeah.
So this has many, many functions, which is the last you can find in technology, because it's not only this light, it's also, there's so many things happening at the same time.
We have the background sounds are called binaural beats, isochronic tones, and solfeggio frequencies. So these are all different things that the body's into. Right now, as we're sitting here, our body is interpreting the light from these lights.
Yes.
And even though these aren't John Ott lights or healing lights, our body, they'll cause a stress response on our body because they're not healthy, like fluorescent lights. They know in schools they actually make people not as intelligent.
Exactly.
You know, so these are things happening all the time. So we are light, vibration, and sound. So the sound is the base, is kind of, that's going on. And then we add in positive psychology. Because I tell people, your best thinking brought you here. Congratulations.
Yeah,
but your best thinking isn't going to get you out of here. You know, you need to upgrade that thinking.
Yeah.
You know, so when you think about upgrading it, that's why positive psychology is getting such a movement, because we know negative psychology, or where we talk about the problem, that's what I learned when I went to school. And it's good for building a client base, but not good for results.
No,
Yeah.
and also with the clients, what I believe that it comes a moment very soon when you understand what this means, is that you talk 1% of the time of the problem and the rest, 99% of the solution.
Right.
And what we're here for in this conference, in this Dave Asprey event, which I think is amazing because it reunites people like you that are thinking totally out of the box. Because, for example, this and the positive psychology that you say, I mean, how many times have we heard, like what Bruce Lipton says, that the first 7 years of our life, there's a thing that's installed in our subconscious that we repeat and repeat and repeat, and we don't even notice that we're repeating it. And we want to change the story, but we don't know how to. So I think this is amazing because it takes you to a state where our brain, but you're the expert, will actually like re-edit the story that you've been telling yourself unconsciously since you're a baby. And when you do that, you know what? You change that story unconsciously, and then you change your life.
That's right.
And miracles start happening because you start believing it. So how does that work?
Well,
to make
something
that
called
happen?
neuroplasticity in neuroscience we talk about. So think of neuroplasticity as the capacity of the brain to change and transform. If we don't do the effort, the brain is an energy hog. While we're sitting here, it's using 25% of the energy of the body. It only weighs 3 pounds. You know, so and if we're sleeping, it's still using 20%. So it's going to look for an easy way to do it. So that's why change sometimes is hard. We need to do things that give us energy to do it. And beating yourself up or being negative, those bring your energy down.
And that's what they taught us, that if you hit yourself very hard, then you'll finally learn. I mean, I was brought up like that too.
Yeah,
and I bet you too. And your parents didn't actually use positive psychology, you know? My dad used his ring. He would turn around and if I didn't understand, that was pretty
I mean, we now know that negative psychology doesn't work. Negative conditioning doesn't work. In America here, one of the biggest businesses is prisons. If negative deterrence worked, we wouldn't be building so many prisons. So people are looking to avoid pain more than they're looking and seeking, you know, positive changes in their life. They're looking for pleasure, maybe in all the wrong places, but they're looking for more. They're looking to avoid the pain of their life. So they'll seek out what we call hedonistic ways, like maybe they're over drinking or smoking or overeating, these kind of things, because they get pleasure in those things just for a brief moment, but they're really hurting themselves by doing it. They're taking a short-term gratification route instead of a long-term benefit route.
So, I'm getting mine. And I'm going to start using it. And the most important thing about this is that I always like to tell the people that follow me that I try to share what helps. And this sounded to me like it is helpful. And the most interesting thing is that people say, I don't have time. And you know why they don't have time? Because they're super stressed all the time. And they're in cortisol land all day. And they normalize this and but even if that's the case, let's say, because it's the case for many people that have to work, to take money to their homes, to do things, and sometimes they don't even enjoy it. So this is not something that you have to walk around all day wearing. It's something that you do.
You can do it 3 different times of the day, and it's
3
something.
times a day.
What I always tell people, if you don't have time for wellness now, are you going to have time for your sickness later?
Exactly, and it's cost a lot more. And you know what's the sad part, being a psychotherapist and working with so many people, is that when you feel sick, emotionally sick, and you don't even realize it because it's normalized, then you're super neurotic. And the people around you, that's in your workplace, at your house, they're gonna get sick because you're sick. So
Right.
why not get healthy, which means get happier. That's the only reason we're here for. And this can help. And I think that's important because that's what we all want to do, but people don't know how.
Right.
And they say they don't have time. Well, this is something you can do 3 times a day. I was talking to Dr. Fab, who introduced us, which is a lovely human being. I love Dr. Fab, so thank you, Fab. And he does it twice, for example. But 3 times a day means that what we're gonna do is, can you put that on me?
Yes.
So we can show
You
the people how it works.
You just put this on like this. You put the visor down, wear it just like glasses, and then the app that we have triggers the lights. You lay back, relax, or you can sit up, whatever you're comfortable doing. We turn it on, and it's going to take you into the state of deep relaxation, and it's going to bring you back out. We have morning sessions that take 10 minutes, afternoon sessions that take 20, and in the evening, ones that put you to sleep, they are 30 minutes, but they don't bring you back. They basically put you into deep delta, and you sleep and detox your brain while you're doing it.
And there's a lot of programs in here, right? How many are there?
Right now, we have over 2,000 that are English. We only have less than about 83 right now for Spanish, but we're going to be growing those, right?
We are.
Yes.
Give me 5.
Yes, that's right. So the more, and I think that the thing is that
And you're bringing the breathing source too, which is super cool because here you're gonna hear, for example, I was in the booth. You're making very interesting studies. They do a test on you and how you're doing before and after, and it's 15 minutes of BrainTap, and what happens to your brain afterwards.
Yeah, what we show is 70% of your brain, or your nervous system's in your brain. So we can do things like galvanic skin response testing. We call it the neurocheck because it's really checking your neurology. We put clips on the wrist, and then we send a low-level current through the body. That low-level current is measuring the resistance in the body. The more resistance, the less effective. Our body needs to be in a state of flow and relaxation. So what it does, it feeds back in. Now we'll know, hey, are you in fight or flight? Are you in rest and recovery? Are you in neurohormonal stress? Is your heart rate, right now, most people don't know about it, but hopefully with us and other people sharing it, your heart has 40,000 neutrino cells. These are brain cells. They think, they respond, they have emotion. So most people, that is shutting down because they don't love their life, they don't like what's going on. That's what you said, like happiness. Those are the people that are the happiest, their nervous system's working the best. Those people that are moving and breathing, like dancers or yoga teachers or Tai Chi people, these are the things we need to be doing instead of sitting down all day, because our physiology affects it.
Loving and sharing and connecting. Can you guide for all the people that are in Instagram, like a 2-minute meditation if you want, but take us there.
So if you're sitting in a place where you can relax, you're going to sit down,
driving,
just like Dr. Lizi here. You sit down, your spine is straight, you kind of roll your shoulders so you can get rid of some of that excess energy. And before you close your eyes, you roll your eyes upward, and this is because it's going to trigger something called alpha. That's the alpha brainwave. Now slowly close your eyelids down over top of your eyes and take a deep breath in. As you breathe in, you're going to trigger that sympathetic system, and then as you breathe out slowly, you're triggering that rest, digest, recovery system called the parasympathetic system. And as you keep doing that, you connect that breath. So you can breathe in a little bit, breathe in fully, because most people don't breathe well. So as you breathe in and then breathe out, I want you to go inside and find something you really love about yourself. Something that you do, that you know you do better than maybe a family member, a friend, a coworker, that when you're in that state doing that thing, you feel empowered. There's a feeling of that. So notice in your body as you continue to breathe where that power comes from. That's your well power, we call it. That's your inner source of being. When you're in that state, you know you're on the right track, doing the right thing. Breathe into that space now. And imagine as you breathe out that space begins to expand into your body. And as you continue to breathe into that space, you're calling on the energy around you to mobilize, organize, and then amplify that feeling, that inner feeling of, hey, I'm in the right place. I'm doing the right things. I'm perfectly okay. Everything's all right. And most importantly, as you continue this process of visualizing this light, visualize you're sending that gratitude and love to people that you care about, that are meaningful in your life. Just take a moment to really sense and feel that gratitude in your power, because you are unique to all of creation. There has never been a person like you. There will never be another person like you on this planet or any other planet in the universe. You are unique, so allow your uniqueness to shine. We didn't come here to play small. We came here to play big. So imagine that light, like a beacon, a lighthouse, broadcasting out to the world saying, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready to step up, activate, and realize my full potential. And once you've locked into that, know you can practice this at night, right before going to bed. Just lie in bed, visualize that same space, that same place, find that gratitude within you, that power when you're doing something you love and appreciate, that you know you do better than anyone else in your unique community, and then amplify that feeling. And then that will become a spontaneous, automatic way of being. As you practice that entering into deep sleep, you'll begin to dream about how you'll activate that. You'll begin to experience it upon awakening. It will become as natural as your breathing. So continue to breathe in deeply, continue to breathe out completely, and then think of 3 places where it would be unique for you and powerful for you to have this feeling, so that when people look at you, maybe when things aren't going the way you want it, you simply smile a little bit, because you know your inner power is there to make it just a little bit brighter, make life just a little bit better for those around you, because your presence of being there is fully present in that moment with your power, with your well power. And when you're ready to activate that, just count from 1 to 3 and say to yourself, wide awake, feeling fine and in perfect health, feeling better than ever before, and this is so.
Wide awake.
Yeah, there you go. Yes.
Thank you for joining us on our mission to better a billion brains. Follow at Dr. Patrick Porter on social media for updates, and remember to practice brain fitness every day.